For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a kind of a tutorial slash sort of pitching video and packing video for that matter on how you're going to pitch your outdoor rev Cayman Cuda, be it the Cuda or the Cuda XL, obviously the poled version. So we're going to just go through the process, I think, really, show you how it's pitched and how simple it can really be done. The pitching process, I'll say, is no actually different. It's just the main size of the unit itself changes a little bit. First thing you want to do, probably, you can, if you wanted to, buy additional kind of footprint or some ground sheet to put down first, just to protect the ground sheet that's actually integral to the awning from going up. But for the purpose of this video, I'm literally going to pitch it and pack it away again. So, and the grass is nice and dry, so I'm not too worried about that to start with. So, what I want to start with first, really, is we're going to lay it out, get our orientation, look to find where actually the beading is, i.e. the cader on the tunnel section. So we've got that located there, which is brilliant. And then we'll just unravel it like so. During the pole awning, it's nice and simple to put onto the vehicle. I'm going to attach it onto my wind out, so I'm utilising, say, the smaller beadings. There's two beadings on this itself. I'm going to use the smaller 5mm beading and just feed that straight into the groove on the wind out awning itself. So that can just feed in there. Again, if you've got a second pair of hands, makes life a little bit easier. You just want to kind of elevate it and then just feed it directly in. We do this first mainly because then we've got, obviously, we can get it nice and tight against the vehicle. Means that we haven't got to worry about how far we're going out. We can get our distance away quite nice and neatly. Now, I'm using my own pegs for this, admittedly, but what I'm going to do next is I'm going to basically peg it down against the van. Position wise, you want to make sure that obviously you go far enough back that you can kind of open the sliding door within the tunnel section. I usually, as a guide, do the front point first, just because then you can get it as near as damn close to the start of the door, so that way you should be further enough on the way back. So we're going in line directly there. Now you want to go a little bit underneath the vehicle itself, just to kind of get it as tightly. You're always better going too tight, but not tight enough. The reason being for this is just because you can always, it's easier to just slacken off the pegging point and bring everything out and away kind of from the camper. Whereas if you try to stretch it back, then it's just too much hassle. So the same again here, you want to come sort of directly down, if you will, and again peg a little bit underneath the vehicle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the main points directly out, so we can kind of pull the base of the awning outwards. It is kind of a square or rectangular shape, I should probably say. So again, what we'll do is kind of keep this in line as best I can. Again, we'll just do a little provisional peg for the time being, just so we've kind of got it where, about there or thereabouts. And ideally you want to peg almost away from each corner, so we're pulling against there, but also pulling across the width-wise of it as well, just to give it a better idea. We'll leave this floating for the time being. We'll come back and peg this. We can tweak it as we kind of go, in a sense. So now we've kind of pegged it out, we can actually then utilise and feed the poles directly into it. So you've got two fiberglass poles that kind of cross over in the main sector. Now with this, we want to carefully, oh, it's there, Arch. You want to get it? Cool. Pegs it too well. Go under there. Cool. Thank you. So what we're going to do is basically feed it in. Now, immediately, because we're right nice and close up to the vehicle, I'd recommend kind of feeding it back towards the main point there. Just makes life a little bit easier. You want to feed it in while it's kind of flat and there's no tension to it. Just makes life a lot easier. The poles are both the same in terms of actual size, so you haven't got to worry about which pole goes in where. So we'll just carefully feed it in through this point. Again, each adding a pole, just make sure it's not catching at any point as such. The Cuda, we've done a separate review video on the Cuda as well, so if you wanted to see kind of more information about it, or the sizing, the specification, the features, all of that malarkey, then you're more welcome to obviously check that out on our YouTube channel. So right now, I've got a little bit poking out the end, just there. You want to, if you can, ideally, kind of centralise the poles. There's enough, sort of same amount of width either side. Now we'll do exactly the same on the crossway. The reason we kind of do this first is just that it's easier to feed something through on the flat rather than the arc. You still in there? I'm going under. You coming out, Arch? You coming out? You staying in? Come on, there you come. You got to bring your frisbee with you. You want to put it thrown, don't you? So again, we'll go carefully now, because we're kind of a bit closer to the van on this side. We're just going to be a bit more kind of go on an angle. Again, just feed it bit by bit. Keep the tension going forward. You don't want to pull against it, because what happens, you'll just end up pulling the poles directly out. I always like to sort of feed a bit in at a time. Sometimes you need a second pair of hands. We'll just make sure it's feeding through the other side as it should. Yeah, we're okay there. That's just gradually going out there. Brilliant. So now we're kind of even Stevens on that front. What I want to do is basically put the ringing pin in on this side first. That way we're fixed, and then again the excess is going outside. So I'll put the knuckle joint directly at the top. Just dig that into the ground and put your foot there so it flexes. And then from there, you can just put the ringing pin in the base of it. So I'd recommend doing that first. What we are going to then do is do the one on the opposite side, same principle. So that way we're engaging the pole in the back side of it. Just get this frisbee out for Archie. So again, we'll pop that ringing pin directly into the base of the awning itself. And then we'll just tension on the opposite side. So again, what I would recommend doing is just elevate it up, feed backwards into it. And the same principle, just so it's a bit more upright. Pop the ringing pin into the base on both sides, and then we'll clip it on afterwards. That way, we're not pulling tension too far one way or the other. Ideally, you want to say the knuckle joints pretty much there or thereabouts. So now we've got all the poles in base. We'll just clip it on. That's going to really help give it its additional structure. It means we're not sort of pulling it too far away. So once it's physically up, we've just obviously used the main kind of pegs. What we can do if we want to actually kind of pull it away a little bit, just give it a bit more of an extra. Trying to get that fabric looking a bit tighter. But from a pole point of view, it's up, it's sitting really quite nicely. Perfect. Cool. Now we're physically up. If it's windy, I'd recommend probably guying it a little bit just to kind of give you a bit more space. We're going to tweak this pegging point a little bit just to kind of come out a bit more. Again, one of the joys of this, you can kind of tweak it as you go. Just make sure it's sitting as it should. We'll peg the main four corners again. We want to pull against the pegging point and going directly through the point. We've pegged the front up quite nice and neatly. We'll do the back section on the other side. It's just sort of working your way around the awning, really. just because what you want is that internal ground sheet to be really nice and taut. Now at this point here, what you can do is then is just peg the guide points. Just guy it back on it. You've got the kind of, we'll call it teal style coloured ones like this. Really what you want to do is kind of go directly out onto the edge, give it stability, try and follow the seam line. So if you imagine the pole's a nice sort of direction point, if you come directly out to it, that way it pulls all the fabric away. And again on this side here, you kind of come back towards where the van is. You have got sort of extra guy ropes and stuff over the top. The tunnel section is kind of universal, so what we can do is just take a bit more of the extra slack up there, fold that in, just to kind of make it look a bit nicer. We'll just tuck those inside. And again, it's a question of whether you probably go around at a base and just do the rest of the pegging points. So for example, you want the window kind of point open. We'll just peg that out. The joys of this is quite a minimal amount of pegging points, so it's not kind of too overkill in that sense. Keeps it nice and simple, but again, something small but not too small. And then we've got a pegging point directly there. Because the ground sheet's obviously sewn in, you haven't got to worry about doing anything like that. We've got a door section here as well. I'd always recommend, if you are doing the doors, cross them over. Basically create tension, the pegging point sort of towards the door that way. And then likewise back against it, the other side. Means that when you're opening and closing the zips, again, makes life a lot easier. And with these, you want to kind of just peg almost directly down. Probably got a bit more play on this pegging point over here anyway to come away. There we go, that's better. And then one final pegging point at this point. Jobs are good. Like I said, very simple, very easy to pitch. Doesn't take a huge amount to do so. But what we will do now is we will move on to the packing video and show you how you pack away the awning itself. So we move on to packing away the actual Cuda itself. So we'll kind of do the same things in reverse in many ways. So first and foremost, we'll basically, if there's a wind coming from a particular side, make sure I would just basically leave the guide points in on that point just to protect it from going obviously waywards. But we're a nice still day today, so what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to remove kind of the guide points itself. I'm even going to kind of just take some of the slack out of it, we'll take it away from the vehicle itself again, so we've got less to worry about. Almost what I want to do is leave the main four corners pegged in. So the main four corners of the awning basically is where the sewn in ground sheet is. So again, it should structurally pretty much be where it needs to be. Now, ideally you want to leave a door kind of partially open. The reason I say that is because of the ground sheets is kind of integral to it. When you come to pack it away, and obviously you want the air to escape that's internally in there, you want an outlet for it to kind of go to. So I definitely kind of recommend leaving a door half open or 3/4 open for that matter. So now we've kind of done, we've unpegged it. We're just going to take off the pole clips, again leaving the ground sheet nice and neatly pegged. Let's open that up a little bit just to kind of get a bit of air into it. So I'm going to just leave the door open partially. I mean, we've got the mesh vent over that side open anyway, so that just kind of keeps it nice and tidy. But because we can unclip those, if you did have a fixing kit at this point here, you could obviously remove that, and it means this tunnel section would be kind of gone, but for the purpose of the video I'll just put it directly in. So now I'm going to basically take the ring and pins out, just drop that down a little bit. If we just take the pole out like that, the reason I'm doing this is just to make sure that the poles and everything falls away from the vehicle rather than directly towards it. So I'm saying that internal air kind of works from that way as well. So now what I'll do is work one by one. So I'm going to basically take the ring and pin out, and just going to feed that pole directly through. One thing you find, if it is stuck in the ground a little bit, you might just need a little bit of a hand to get it past. Thanks, Arch. Again, a second pair of hands makes life a little bit easier. Just go gradually, nice and easily. If you can get it on its side, just make life a bit simpler. Again, thankfully we've got a nice still day today, so we're not worried too much about that. There you go. I always kind of feed it through with one hand and then pull against it on the other. So that's then out of the way. If you are going to pull it, always make sure you flex the pole a little bit, because that will kind of keep the pole engaged and won't then actually end up popping out of its little ferrule. Again, it's quite a nice little simplistic model. Very easy, like I said, to put up and down, which is really what you want. So you want something too complex, too complicated. And we'll do the same on this side again. So I have still pegged the main kind of four corners in, because then it's going to stop it from going anywhere. There you go. There you go. From that point there, we should be able to flex it out of the way, I think. So like I said, what I'm doing here is I want to just basically put a bit of flex onto it. And that way the poles don't come out. So from here we can gather the poles up. Now that's going to be kind of our little, the pole width itself is going to be our guide when we come to folding it. Reason being is that we know how big the bag is. That's just be a bit more of a better solution. So it's, again, it's utilising things to help you rather than hinder you. So in this case, what we'll do is just gonna pop that down there. We'll remove the remaining four pegs that's in the model itself. Which means we can then take it off, detach it, or do what we want to do with it. So from this point here, we'll slide it off the rail. Now, we'll flip the tunnel section back over the main part of it. Reason being is we want to basically be folding where the ground sheet's physically sewn in, which makes it a lot easier. Now, because we've got openings on both sides, it doesn't really matter too much which way you go. I would recommend folding across one way towards the other. Again, if you want to use the your poles as a guide, by all means. So you can see how far you got to come across. If in doubt, go a little bit lower. Press that air out. The bag generally is a bit more oversized anyway, it just makes life a little easier. But by pressing it down each time, it helps to get any of that external air out. And then you want to roll it from one side towards the other. Preferably if you've got like a little tie or something in there, makes life a little bit easier, which I don't think we have for this one. But and then use the poles, thank you, Arch, as a real focal point. Gives you something to grip around. Try and keep your weight directly over the top of it if you can. Just helps to get any excess air out. You can see all that air has been built to the bottom, so that's going to then just gradually go out the door. Have your bag hopefully ready for you. You can just kind of roll it in like that. And there we go. Nice and easy. ready to put in the camper and head off. If you have any more questions about the Cuda, of course, you can check this video link below the video, take you straight through to our website. We've got more information on things like pack sizes, floor dimensions, that sort of stuff. So there's the real kind of mix to have a look at on that front. But really, in essence, that's kind of how you're going to pitch and pack down your Cuda. Feel free to let us know in the comments box below what you think of it as well. It's always good to have feedback from you guys, be it good, bad, or indifferent. But on the whole, happy, simple, and perfect for going away in the camper. Thank you very much for watching. I will look forward to seeing you again soon in our next Attwoolls Outdoors video tutorial reviews.